Hi and welcome to another edition of hippoBrain. Here is where we have hippo-sized conversations with people with hippo-sized brains. Today is a very, very, very different conversation from a very different guest than what we would have normally had on this show. It's very difficult to describe Shaun Williams. I've met him many years ago in various different avatars. And first I knew him as somebody had met on the corporate life, and I don't think that's too much on his CV. I don't think he also wants to talk too much about his corporate life. But afterwards, I kept seeing him in some of the ads. Now, one of the ads that I thought he was extremely good and he was very famous for was the Seagrams Men Will Be Men. If you guys remember the one in the lift where Shaun enters the lift and he decides to keep getting back into the lift for obvious reasons. And that was one lovely ad. And he's done quite a few ads. And that's again one side of the personality. The other side of the personality that I thought Shaun is pretty interesting and is worth understanding. He's also an acting coach. Now he's coached a lot of people on the acting. I didn't even realize. I thought you just are an actor and you just come on screen. I didn't realize you needed coaches for that. But extremely interesting. I've come to learn that Shaun is extremely, while he does coaching for the actors, his super speciality and where he's actually a lot more in demand, and he's probably the last name in the business, is the acting coach for the kids. Now, if you see the Flipkart commercials, if you see the other commercials where you have kids coming and acting, it is Shaun behind the scenes working with the kids, working with the directors, working with the craft and trying to make it all come together. Let's ask with the first question. Shaun, modeling, corporate career to main bhul raha hu, chhod de. Modeling, doing that acting, and suddenly taking a pivot and saying, "Nahi, bhai, hum acting coach banenge." Can you explain what the hell is going on?
Firstly, it's great to be among such genius, cool people. I'm very although I'm smiling, I'm very, very nervous right now. Rajesh is an icon. Like when I first saw I've been watching hippoBrain, so I said, "Oh my God, it's him, that man." And Jaimit has been he's been quite, I call him my Seth Godin sometimes, because he's advised me a lot several times on various things with expletives, which we won't share on this. So moving on. How did I get into teaching? So firstly, as an actor, and I'm sure everyone knows this, you're not necessarily guaranteed your next assignment next week or next month. So you do a lot of things to earn a living. So when I quit my job, when I quit the corporate life, I did voiceovers, I did comparing, a little bit of writing, and even I signed up with a corporate training company who had a certain module to conduct. So I was doing all these things, and teaching did not come, in fact, until much later. So around 2009 was when the recession happened. Was that the Lehman Brothers crash?
2008, 2009, yeah.
2008 was December, and then 2009 is when we bore the brunt of it. So around that time, work dried up. And how it used to work as any freelancer for that matter, you usually have 10 checks pending, out of which 5 will come. There's a 30-day cycle for getting your checks. So I was very relaxed. I said, I have 10 checks, they're going to come. And half those checks never came for that year, at least for the next 6 months. Wow. And it was work dried up, bank balance also dried up. And that's when someone called me and said, because school still went on. So someone called me and said, would you like to teach kids? We heard you. I used to tell stories to kids at church, Sunday school. We call him a Sunday school teacher, but we don't teach. At least I wasn't teaching. I was teaching the smallies. I was just telling them stories in my dramatic way. So I said, okay, I work with kids. So I'd be interested in teaching. And plus, I need money. So I said, okay. This is a company called Theatre Professionals, which what they used to do is employ people like me and rent them out to teachers, on yearly contracts. So I did my first demo class at Aditya Birla World Academy. It was a very mediocre class. In fact, when I think about it, it was terrible. I was just one of those guys who take an exercise from the internet and put it, I mean, although by then I had acted in a few plays, it was very surface level knowledge, they told me like, why don't you workshop a bit, And so this is also leading to how I became a teacher and as an actor. And I said, yeah, maybe I should workshop. I will not take up the job right now, but I'll just do workshops. So I did a slew of workshops and I came back. And then in 2010 is when that was my first time I started teaching, where I assisted on the annual day for, again, ABWA, the school. That was my teaching journey in schools. There was nothing was happening until years later, where the first Flipkart campaign, they needed someone to coach the kids because very different at that time. They needed, see, this is where I think why I'm needed on some cases. Certain TV ads where the kid is doing a Colgate ad, or not, well, any kind of those ads where the kid just runs to mummy and says, "Mummy," there is no expectation. they do they'll do these absolutely over the top smiley faces, and that's all that's needed, and no one cares. It was only for that film, and the director Ayappa really wanted something, firstly, them to act like adults, and also subtle acting, as subtle as possible. And it just so happened that I was recommended by a casting director and my friend who knew someone, and they said, okay, I'd never done it before, but it just became an extension. I had to improvise and see what I can do, and that was my first break as an acting teacher. And since then, the rest is history. I did almost every Flipkart campaign except almost every. I've not been on all, but it's been fun being an acting coach for films and TV ads. Yeah.
Shaun, I want to just go back to that Flipkart ads which you spoke about. How do you really teach kids? So, I mean, kids are there, they are bubbly, they run around all the time. I mean, it's very hard to control kids, I mean, they have their own sort of mind. How do you teach them?
And it's not like they're in school that you can take a ruler and make them sit down.
well, I do bring all my techniques from school into the workshop space. I don't make the ruler, but I have my stern face and my stern voice. And so firstly, I was mentored very well by theater professionals. One of the first things we learned, one of the first key skills, was not necessarily the in-depth knowledge of theater and drama and acting. It was patience. And dealing with different kinds of problematic children, like we'd actually do role play. This one always wants to pin someone, or this one doesn't pays attention. What do we do to handle it? And there'll always be that one kid who, as my mentor would say, not me, she loves kids. There's that one kid who you want to shoot to the moon, and it's true, So we learned patience. Now, with regards to Flipkart, firstly, the idea is I'm not going to teach you acting in the first place. In fact, I tell this to the directors. The first few sessions, I don't want you all in the room. I'm just going to get them accustomed to the discipline and certain responsibilities that they have. One is standing still. So I'll tell them simple things like, listen,
standing still, huh?
Yeah, I'll act in, and especially for Flipkarts where I needed them not to like shake like this. I want to do subtle acting where they only will move their mouths, Aisa, kya kar rahe ho? That was part of the training. So we never went to dialogues. We went to first like, okay, stand still for 10 seconds. And I count 1, 2, 3, 4. And they're like, very good. That's how it is. Then we layer in the acting. Then we layer in subtlety. Then we layer in emotions, even turning your head, like, okay, turn your head, but body should not shake. Sirf hoto hilega. Or sirf gardan hilega. That's it. So A is bringing them into a sense of discipline, which you might think star kids and actor kids no, I bring in that school teacher thing into it. They have to. I am Shaun, sir. You have to be a little afraid of me. And so bringing in that discipline, and also several techniques. Like again, what people say happy expression, though I never say that. It's not the right way. I will when in my conversation I'll find out what exactly excites them. So what's your favorite toy? I have this Spider-Man toy. Like, yeah, okay. Now think you got 10 Spider-Man toys. Naturally, that action happens because it's coming from internal, and that's a more real expression that they give. And these are all the tricks that I will employ. Okay, now you got only one Spider-Man toy. So then I'll kind of guide their the intensity of the emotion through little tricks. I have a scale also that I work with them. Okay, number 1, 2 chocolate, number 3, 3 chocolate, number 10, teen chocolate cake. You know, so that's my way of communicating to a child what acting is. There's no, we don't talk about motivation and, you know, what are you feeling within your body. No. And again, all of this is done with lots of fun and games. It's not a school or how we grew up in SSC and ICSE schools. There's no school. It's always fun. There is that element of discipline. And I will say, listen, I'm not happy with this. And there are rules. When you hear the word rolling ka matlab, stand still. So that they have that time to stand still, and then when they hear action, do their actions. So there's hundreds of tips and tricks that I get them to listen and act. Yeah.
The one thing I'd be curious to know is, how do you get those retakes done? Because for a kid, you know, it's like once you have done it, I mean, very hard to probably do it again and again and again and again.
That's a great question. That's a great question. I think it's because the process doesn't seem like work. And that's one. They're coming into the stage not to work. They're coming onto the set not to work, but they're doing their thing with Shaun sir, you know, or Shaun Bhaiya, whichever they call it, you know. The second thing, I never lie to them. Like the mistakes that, and this is why I'm required on set, the mistakes that a lot of people make is they say, "Achhe se karo, one last time." You know, so when inevitably the kid gets tired, sir, kitna, or I will say 5. I will say aadha ghanta lage. I will never say 5 minutes, because then that irritation saps their journey. You know, that then they start not believing you, and then when they stop believing you, then you're gone. There have been shoots where even I've lost control of this, and it's like, Shaun, what do we do now? You know. The other thing is, again, the mahol that I've created in the workshop space, which is why the workshop is very important to the process. We rehearse or workshop. When I say workshop, not just rehearsing, it's training. We train 3-4 days, depending on the script and the number of kids before, so that they are prepared mentally to do retake and retake and retake. Like this, again, the same thing of standing still for 10 seconds. I'll do it 3-4 times, so they're already used to it, so they don't even consider it as much of a problem. It does get tiring, but that's when, again, I use my humor. And if they're making mistake, listen, be quiet, I'm going to throw an elephant's bum at you. And then that little bit of laughter extends, you know. And there's also a certain truth. You make a child do homework for half an hour, she's going to be stressed, he or she's going to be stressed. You give them a football or a game, they'll play till midnight, you know. So it's all about that. And again,
yeah, go deeper. So it's about 3-4 days workshop. You work with the script. You try and understand which kid is supposed to do what. You try and understand what the director wants out of it. So you sit down with the director. Just take us through a little more of the process. I'm a little curious. It's a life that I've never seen.
I should have started with that. Yeah. So this is the ideal process, but I'll just go through whatever I think is ideal. The kids are auditioned, and we have maybe a short list of maybe 10 kids. What I would like, which doesn't happen all the time, but what I would like is, send me those videos of the kids, the audition tapes, and I will say, this guy, his eyes are dead. I don't think he'll be able to pull this off. This guy, he may be able to pull this off, but only in spurts, and I don't think his energy. I'd like to say that my years of experience, I can just look at a kid's eyes and I can say there's something not going to work out on set. You're going to get a limited amount of expressions. Sure, she looks cute. Sure, he looks bubbly and adorable, but can he act? So I usually give my comments, and then from the shortlist, we choose a certain number of actors. I'll sit with the director, like you rightly said, and I'll ask him, like, okay, what kind of acting do you want? Can you give me a reference, like Brad Pitt and so, or Nawazuddin in this film? Give me an exact reference of what kind of acting for this kind of film. Give me a reference for what kind of comedy. Is it Akshay Kumar slapstick, or is it subtle comedy, just words? Do you want subtle kind of acting? So I'll get all this, my brief, from the director, because it's his film, not mine, and I'll try to translate that in the workshops process. I asked the guy at the production house, the filmmaking company, to book a studio for me, and I'll tell them, give me 3-4 days or whatever's possible. And I tell them, no mirrors. The minute you have mirrors, the kids are looking into the girls are always doing this. The boys will look at themselves while they are acting. So there's these little small protocol that I give all the production houses and film. Listen, no one in the room except the director, no parents. Parents are always banned from my workshops because there's always अच्छे से करो uncle को. No, it's okay. Just I will do them. Let them do अच्छे से करो. Just trust me. Let them have fun and don't worry. They're not in a reality show. I'm not going to be abusive to your children, because that's another thing. That the culture of kids on set is very weird. So so the first few days of the workshop, I don't work on the script. I work on if there's some certain issues we need to sort out, like if it's too energetic, I need to bring them down to be able to stand still and talk quietly or talk softly. So I identify issues and I workshop them or train them in certain issues. Then I start going towards the script. Okay, now what does the script require? Does it need to be old, young? Does it need to be bubbly? Does it need to be scared? And then I go into what I discovered, what I said what I said a few minutes ago, like delivery of line and what tricks can I use to deliver fear, anger, or disgust, as the case may be. We work with props as much as I can, because again, the kids can't be surprised on set. Okay, I was rehearsing without a mobile phone, and now you give me a mobile phone to hold, I don't know, and it falls, so they don't know how to this thing. So as much as detail as possible, I try to rehearse the kids, and then comes shoot day. I by this time, actually, it's not a problem, because they've been attuned to the process. They've been trained, brainwashed by me, and they know when Shaun sir enters the room, okay, it's time to work, and they know it's time for fun and time for it's like they know when it's time to fun and they know when it's time for working. So on set, what happens is mostly all instructions are routed through me, for the simple reason that if there are 2-3 people talking to the child, they get distracted, focus is lost, and all instructions are forgotten. So I make it very sick, please, even if if you director want to speak, just the director or me, no one else. Route your instructions through me, like, oh, Shaun, he's fidgeting too much, or he's handling his t-shirt. Tell it to me, then I'll tell the kid, and that's how it's done. So I sometimes have the pleasure of saying action on sets, because they're tuned to my voice, so
True.
Ready, okay, remember, elephant walk, and action, So, and the reason why I get to say action, because I have to put in these things at the right moment just before they act, so that there's no distraction. They forget, mujhe bhook lagi, and all that business happens, So yeah, so that's what I'm doing on set. I again, it's like school. There's no whenever you want to go to toilet all the time, I mean, reasonably, because sometimes, and people may see I'm mean, they sometimes use excuses to get out, So no, you're not hungry right now. I'll come to a compromise. Listen, okay, can we do 3 takes? Then we'll get you your biscuit or all, because it's become a habit with kids also. They just randomly, and not because they're bad kids. I don't believe there's a bad kid ever. It's because there's a habit of anything happens, the spotter will come and give sweets just to make them happy. No, never. Don't. I've been on sets where they say, "Achhi se karo, doggy launga," and the guy he promised that, and then he showed a picture of the doggy on his lap. I said, and the kid started crying. And then the same guy, he knows it's not working. He said, "Ice cream laega," which they were managed to get, but there are some terrible things I've seen on set, which is just logic. And sometimes I have to battle, not most of the time, but once in a while, with someone who feels it's a tricky situation, because it almost seems like I'm stepping into the director's zone, So then someone starts directing, or the assistant director start telling. I said, "Can I please let me do my job that you're paying me for? You don't know how to handle kid. Oh, kid is crying. Let's play some music." No, that's too much noise. I need to talk to them in my calm voice and say, "What's the problem? Can we help? Let's take a 5-minute break first." So this is why I believe I need it on set. Now I'm just blatantly like, you need me on set. I don't care whatever you say.
I'm quite sure.
Well, Shaun, listening to you, I mean, makes me want to be a kid and keep saying, Shaun sir, and learn from you. I mean, my acting career was, I think, when I was in the 3rd standard, and they realized that the only role I could play was that Demon guarding Sita when Hanuman comes in Lanka. And then I have to do this, and run away from the stage. This was like the fifth role where every kid, remember in that time in school, every kid had to be on stage.
Even now.
So I wish I had you when I was young, yeah.
and I would have made it so much fun because, and this is where again, so in the teaching world, sometimes I'm really at crosshairs sometimes with the manager because I'm an outside guy coming in. So I try to do things which normally are not possible or crazy. Like this kid can't say lines, Shaun, don't give it to him. You said that? Did you just say, I'll give him lines now. I will give him an important part just because you said he can't remember. Because I really believe, and this was even before I started working with the children with learning needs, there's a way to get that kid who can't remember lines or whatever. This was even before we were thinking seriously about learning. There's a way to get them lines. There's a trick to make it simple, shorten the lines. There's lots of things. You don't just dump a kid and say, no, So I've had many like, please, can I know the kids can do this, just let me. So I've had battles with principals, but then principals are worried about what parents will think or what the board of directors will think. So yeah, I've seen the side where principals are not really in charge of things sometimes. I really feel bad for them at times. Yeah. Yeah, but I'd make it fun. And you said I couldn't act. That's something I don't believe in. I don't know whether we've spoken about this, but there was one time where I started again doing corporate plays, so where the employees themselves act. And the first thing they tell me always, everyone, sir, I've never acted. I've never done. Have you ever told a lie? Yes. Good, you're an actor. Let's start now. And I've made these people who have never even stepped on a stage, act, and it's all within. And that's the fun I get when they are so happy and said, I've acted, and everyone can act. Everyone can act. Yeah.
Absolutely. And I'm pretty sure when I asked my son, he was probably one of your batch of 2010 in ABBA.
Yeah.
I think, the way you see the kids on stage, and you can't imagine that they are the same ones who are able to pull off a complex 2-hour event,
yes.
so smoothly.
And they're actually capable of more. So the problem with annual days is that you have 250 kids, so you have to do 1 line or 2 lines per kid. Like the headaches we have is like in my first play for Aditya Birla, the tricks that we would do is if there's an animal play, the giraffe would be split into 2. So they're the giraffe twins. So that's how we'd split. Finally, we have 2 kids to get lines, so there's no pressure. And I once, there's this famous Persian story of Ahmed and his wife. So I split his wife into 10 wives, and it was just surreal and ridiculous. And he had 5 wives coming and shouting at him, and 5 wives coming, and every kid got a line. But that's how I could do it. Can't help it.
Yeah, those are wild plays. Sometimes I realize every 5 minutes, Akbar badal raha hai.
Yeah.
Oh man. So what are the common mistakes we end up doing with kids? And I think these are. I'm a parent of an 18-year-old, and I know you are not married. Let me take some parenting lessons from you. What is the nonsense thing that we do with kids? Yeah.
So a lot of people have this very cool thing of saying like treat them like adults. I think that's just something cool to say that you can put on Facebook and Instagram. I think you can't treat a child like an adult. You treat them with respect. There's a difference, because they are there for our guidance. It's, they're there for whatever, whether it's physics, history, or even life lessons. Understand what they're feeling or what their problems are, and then solve the situation. That's respect. That's not treating them like an adult, because you can't be an equal to children. I know it's not very a popular opinion, but I believe that's the best way to be sort of authoritative without being dictatorial, and kind and gentle. And I think it works because despite rigorous workshops where the shoot is not an easy thing for a kid to do, they're still smiling, and they're still laughing. And then they say, hey, Shaun sir ke saath. So there's obviously truth to me being strict as well as having that balance of fun and discipline. This is what I feel is kind of lacking. How do we deal with kids? Again, I don't get into their zone if they're getting an issue. I'm just going to stand still and wait for them to calm down. Like recently, we had what I was dreading. We had a kid for Nestle Nangro, 3-year-old kid, 3-year-old. Yeah. Um, uh, so he has never done an ad before. He was selected merely because his mom has a YouTube channel and once in a while puts him on the. He's cute, you know, very lovely kid, but he's never acted before. My job is not to judge him as an actor, but to know that he's not active. Therefore, I have to challenge him differently. Now, the one thing which to my horror, he had to wear a helmet, and I know from experience, making a child wear a helmet is the worst thing. You know, I've done it. I've had it on shoots, and you don't want. Can we please rehearse with the helmet? The helmet didn't come, so on shoot, I said, okay, can we wear it for 5 minutes? Then this thing, okay. And if you want to take it out, don't take it out yourself. You know. So, but at the end of the day, he started. Please, can you take it off? Yeah. So that there was no me panicking. There was not him panicking. He just learned to calm down. So I guess the thing is to always be calm when you're dealing with kids and figuring out what the problem is and asking him and understanding what he's feeling internally, and then problem solving. I think they just want to be heard in a way, you know, whether it's going to the toilet or having a snack. So I will definitely like, and I'll immediately say, Spot, can we please have some water for Mr. So and so, and it's coming. So they know, they trust me that I'm taking care of them. There's no, I'm not terrible, not a terror. About dealing with 18-year-olds, I'm not sure. I have worked with college kids. I have worked with colleges, NMIMS and things like that. So that's another ball game. I'm lucky because when I started off teaching, most people specialize in an age group. But because I was at the same time pursuing an acting career, I told the guys, listen, I don't want to take too many schools. I want to have days where I can go and shoot. So he said, okay, can take care of one school, but if someone is sick in other schools, can you substitute for them? So I ended up substituting for all my friends across all age groups, which is why I was able to work with whether you're 3 years old, 5 years old, and corporate 40 years old. I just was able to be flexible in deciding how to work with each kid, and that's helped me in my shoots.
Just,
situation.
yeah, just moving a little, just the angle a little bit. You also acting coach for adults and in commercials, TV commercials, as well as I think movies.
Very few.
Very few. How has that experience been? do you have to talk to their mothers as well?
Oh, oh man, I could talk a lot about the whole. No, with the adults, no. Thankfully, the adults will come again, but I employ the same techniques. They have to be a little bit. They have to be on time firstly. And this is something that actually, even in my protocol, I mentioned actors have to be at least 5 minutes before time. There's no walking in and say traffic, because I believe there's no reason you should be late, even in Bombay traffic. If it's raining, leave half an hour early. There's no way. I mean, I managed and I've used bus, train, and rickshaw. I've managed. So I think this is for every teaching or for anything in life. You start off with a tone of how we're going to start, and then everything is going to get easier because my grounding is better. With the adults, again, it's just making sure that you mean business, and at the same time, you're being friendly. I've not had many because, again, not many. The reason I get more kid work is because I don't think people handle kids very well. Adults, if there's lack of time. So I think my first, I've worked with adults before, like I used to do 6-day workshops for aspiring actors, which again, you do the same things. You make them comfortable, you make them relaxed, and you find out where their issues are. Some of them there's ego. Some of them is afraid to open up, because as in when you're doing acting workshops, you could do, probably I'll just give you a pen and say, okay, do something with this pen. It's something. You're afraid of failure, of it not being funny, you know? So breaking that is the big challenge. Not forget the acting skills and all that. Breaking that is always the big challenge. Breaking your brain. My guru's guru told him, cut this and just your gut, you know, take the head out of the thinking. You got to go from your gut. Adults, apart from working with adults, with adult aspiring actors, I was Poonam Pandey's. I was supposed to coach or rehearse Poonam Pandey and the entire cast for her first Bollywood film. And And my God, unfortunately, the film didn't do too well. No one saw it. We went and saw it, and that was fun. And people have this. She has a certain what do you say reputation, but she was actually always on time, and she was actually very sincere. There was this one, and again, every time I said the name Poonam Pandey, there's there's a little chuckle, and even I mean everyone, because she had developed that since that World Cup tweet of hers. I think she's developed a certain reputation. There was this one time where I gave her a brief, and she had to talk about, she had to advise one of her. She was playing a drama student, by the way, in that, a drama teacher in that film. So she was advising one of her students who had a crush on her about life, and I just said, okay, talk about this, but know that you're advising this child based on some bad experiences that have happened in your past. So think of think of those bad experiences. You don't have to tell those bad experiences, but think of that, keep them in the back of your mind, and then tell the dialogues. Because whatever we say is coming from our biases, whether it's you were irritated with your partner's cooking, or whether your partner's not been putting on the fridge, or whatever it is, or you have an abusive relationship. In that rehearsal room, she spoke and she spoke, and there were tears dripping down her eyes. And even I was shocked. Even we were all like looking at each other while we were recording. My God, she's an actress, you know. Which is, it sounds like I'm insulting her, but it was actually because of her, because of the image she created. There's sometimes the expectations are not so high, and she's been battling with that. But no, it was actually a great pleasure to work with her. I got very fond of her and the rest of the cast. The rest of the cast are still in touch with the young boys who are going on to acting careers of their own. And yeah, that's been fine. So working with adults is not very different from working with the kids. Yeah, it's the same.
In
We're all
some
kids.
ways, in some ways, Sean, a lot of this was helped along, of course, by your own career in modeling as an actor.
Um,
Tell us
I
about.
would say I would say more the training. So I attended a lot of workshops as an actor. So I had a lot of gurus and acting mentors. Like I've done like there've been several. I never went to acting school, but I did several like 6-day workshops, 3-week workshops. Um, these were very intense acting workshops. Like there's something that used to happen called the IDP, in intensive drama program, 3 weeks, 8 a.m. to 6 p.m. We would come to in the morning at 8 a.m., 15 minutes early, by the way. We would jump 1,000 times. This is my favorite story. Jump 1,000 times. There's no hyperbole. We actually had to count 1,000 times jumping simply. After that, we would do 12 Surya Namaskars, and the long one where one side and one side, 12 steps and all that. 12 Surya Namaskars, then some chopping exercise, then crawling on your like bird on hundreds of the things. And then dopair ko we'll do script work. Acting seek liye na? No. So it was a complete breaking down. The process is basically breaking down you so that you're no longer allowing your brain or your ego or your pride or some preconceived notions, and you're totally sensitive to what the teacher might be offering, or you're sensitive to your own emotions. You're so raw. That makes you a very strong actor. The physical work that we did was not gym. It was not to make us fit of our abs. It was merely to, I say, mental fitness, because I've never done any kind of sports in my life. The most I've done is watch WWF on sports, but I've never done sports in my life. And here, my guru, the first workshop that we did, which was not the 3-week one, the first workshop that we did, making us jump. I could do 1,000 jumps after that, and I may not be able to do that right now, but I know that I can do it because I have the potential. So it left a lasting impact. So intensive training like this, and it's not Bollywood training, it's hardcore training by these masters who themselves have studied Kallari, Kudiyattam. They've studied abroad, Western. There are many traditions, Western practices. After that, I went and studied various other, not in depth, but 6-day work. Like I've studied clown, I've studied improv comedy, and you can actually do a course in clown. You can study to be a clown. So all of that, you're like, as you would probably know, you take information from various things, your subconscious makes connections, and that translates into how I can understand how an actor works. So I can look at someone and say, okay, your shoulder is stiff, let's lose you, and immediately it'll go down, you know. So understanding my body through those workshops, being broken down in those workshops, helped me as an act, not necessarily my acting experience. And I know this for the fact because before I started training, I was doing one play a year, and I was learning on the job, as they say. But the day I started workshopping, the learning curve was, oh my God, this is it. It's totally new. And I'll give you a very good example of what happened to, again, no physical work, no sports. My body was always stiff. I mentioned that I used to conduct a corporate training exercise for a company, and we had to conduct this bunch of employees with our hand with cymbals. They were given drums, and we had hand cymbals for various patterns which you bang your drum. So I would do it before the workshop. I would do it like this, as anyone would. Once I did this one workshop, which was only about body awareness. This is my first workshop. Body awareness, 6 days, 6 hours a day, 8 a.m. to 2 p.m., just body work, scullery, yoga, stretches. I kept practicing that. Then I started doing my corporate training assignments again, and I started doing various things. I was like flowing, using my legs and whatnot. And I didn't realize how fluid I'd become until 2 clients from 2 separate assignments came up to me and said, Shaun, did you do any training in Indian classical dance? What? No, I just did one 6-day workshop and I practiced after that. And that's how just focusing on the body just helped me. And again, it helps in working with kids, because this is about managing their bodies also, because there's that balance thing and that fidgety thing. I have to understand what's going on in the mind and body, which is a very neglected thing in acting. It's people think, and rightly so, everyone thinks that it's all about dialogues and facial expression. There's so much more happening down in your feet that you need to know, so that it affects the whole posture and then your dialogue delivery. So yeah.
That's extremely interesting. Just one small thing about what you said, I thought is very interesting. Study to be a clown. I thought that's very simple in corporate life. Most of us are clowning around, just doing our work. It didn't take a lot of studies for that.
No, well, as much as people, I loved my corporate life. I didn't think I was definitely not clowning around in my job. So I like that I've had that experience, and I wish I really loved my corporate life. No, that's fascinating. It was fascinating to me when I first learned that you could actually do a workshop to be a clown. And within clowning, there are several traditions. Like the guy who I did a 6-day workshop. He was from South America. I don't know which city, which country. He taught us a certain way. It was kind of subtle. He said no, and he was like almost like, we don't like the American style of clowning. Isn't what? No, there's too much makeup. There's so there's factions sort of in that, and traditions that you learn, which for me is which again is it's like almost like religion. You borrow the good from each religion and you become a better person. That's how it's been for me. Even my gurus, the main gurus who teachers who taught me, when we were taught, there was no such thing, oh, you are now a Stanislavski student, or I'm sure you might have heard of something called method acting. So there's a method of acting called the method, which I don't know much in theory about it, but there's no, oh, you're a method actor, or you are so-and-so kind of style. They drew acting lessons from various traditions and gave it to me, and that's how I work. I have no clue what I've been trained in by now. I just know whatever I did. Specifically, if I did clowning, I know some exercises from clowning. And yeah, it's very fascinating. Some people don't like too much makeup. Some people prefer not garish faces. It's fascinating, and there's so much more that we can do within drama. It's a different world altogether. Yeah.
Shaun, you've acted in films also. So we'll talk a little about that. And I also want you to cover, this whole experience of being on the other side of the camera. So it's one thing to be a coach, directing others, and then you have a director directing you.
Yeah.
How's that?
Oh, well, the acting came first. So when I was behind the camera, so one thing I'll say, when I started going behind the camera, I suddenly had a new respect for people behind the camera. I used to think that I'm an actor, and these directors are sitting on their asses and saying, well, I didn't think that, but it seems kind of cushy. You're sitting there and you're telling us what to do while we're standing in the lights on that. But the minute I started doing Flipkart, I never were standing on our feet roughly throughout the day. We don't go to our vanity vans and sit and chill. As an actor, I would, because you'd break, but you're practically spending 12 hours. And I developed a new respect for the entire directing crew after I started being behind the camera. So that was the big exciting experience for me. Also, then it's interesting that then your brand value in everyone's eyes become a little more when you're behind the camera, and that was very interesting to experience. So I'll give you a little interesting thing. On set, like the spot boy is serving everyone. If you're in the upper leagues, you get the ceramic cup, So the day I got served, oh, पहुंच गया है, right?
It's similar to corporate. I knew I made it in life in corporate India when I moved to an office where the waiter gave me a ceramic cup chai. I'll tell you one more. Wait. I'm dissing my life. The dustbins. So I realized I again moved up in life when my dustbin became a metal dustbin as opposed to a plastic dustbin.
I never thought of that, but I didn't stay long. Oh my God. So
टिश्यू बॉक्स सर आपको टिश्यू बॉक्स मिलता है आपको अलाउड नहीं है
it's yeah, and it's really funny how this hierarchy gets settled in the film, and then like I might walk onto a set and no one will care, but the minute they see me speaking to director, suddenly I'll become Shaun sir. There's a definite body language change when certain people see me, or when parents even see me, like Shaun sir hai, Then obviously there's a thought that maybe I'll help in casting later, which I don't do, which is a different thing, and we can definitely talk about that. Casting is a very funny process also. But
Shaun, let us hold you on that acting part, on when you were doing all these commercials. And that amazing Seagrams commercial where you had no dialogue, zero dialogue, if I remember.
Yeah.
And you had 30 seconds. In fact, I don't even think the female model's even face was shown or whatever. And the camera was on you for 30 seconds and all you had to do was make faces and emote. It was, to my mind, one of the best performances. Go ahead.
Thank you. That ad was landmark for me because I already done a few ads before. But after that, it kind of shot me. It really threw a lot of work my way. There's an interesting story behind that ad. It's kind of a lot of, in a way, luck. Before that ad, I had long hair. And yeah, I had long curly hair, And around that time, and this will lead into why this is important. For some reason, the advertising industry was obsessed with anyone who had long hair. They would cast anyone because it looked different, long curly hair. One guy saved my number as Shaun Curly. And here's where this is so funny. I told him, I looked at him, Shaun Curly. हाँ sir, आपको पता नहीं, curly hair is golden hair.
Seriously, man.
It didn't matter that I was a theater artist and all that. I had curly hair. That's why I'm being called for the audition.
का कोई value नहीं है क्या?
It could become a trend. You never know. That's the weird thing about this industry in a way, at least as far as TV ads. So where was I? So I was getting a little tired of my acting work even then. Why? Because all I was getting called for was drug addict, because long curly hair and shaggy looking, ugly looking, rock star because long curly hair and I had a guitar also at that time, and computer nerd, So I started getting called for only this. And I said to myself, I've not become an actor just to do this. I might as well go to a call center or go back to the job because I'm not enjoying this, There's no difference. So I took what was then considered a scary decision to cut my hair. I'm done. If I don't get work, that's fine. I'm done. I did this. Then I did the 3-week workshop that I spoke about. So I was fresh off. My senses were heightened. I was peak performance. At that time, I was auditioning for the Men Will Be Men ad. And that's when I got that ad. And that's the 30 seconds we talk about, was because I was very confident as an actor, mentally and physically. There's a scene of me running towards the lift in the first, this is my favorite example, in the first shot where I come and the lift close. I had to do that 9 times first thing in the morning. So I think we started at 9 a.m. or 8 a.m. So 9 times running, oh no, the lift didn't close properly. 9 again, no, the lights wasn't right. But I was fit till 9, 10 p.m. because of the workshopping. I was fit physically and I was fit mentally. Sir Vinil Matthew was the director, and he's very big in the advertising agency, and he's done a couple of big Hindi Bollywood films as well. All he did was ask me, and this is a tribute to him also. What can you do? You're waiting in the lift. So, okay. And it's not because I'm a great actor, it's because I was just fine-tuned so much that it all became natural. And it's just about it was not even about impressing the director. It's just about, okay, now what do I do? I'm focused only on the script. I'm not focused on impressing anyone. I'm not focused on how good I look or how bad I look. He said, I'm looking, what can you do? You're waiting impatiently for the lift. So, okay, now what do I do? Let the ideas come. And that's how those things came up, Oh, waiting impatiently, then obviously I'll be bouncing like this, like I want to go to the restroom, that has to come naturally. Otherwise, I do the cliche. If I wasn't so fine-tuned, I'd do the cliche like, this thing, the cliches that one should always avoid, or scratching the head. No, I need to do something different. So that is a testament to my acting teachers who trained me. So that's why I think that ad also worked, and obviously Vinil's vision, because ironically I didn't want to do that ad. I wanted to do the wedding ring. There were 3 ads. I wanted to do the wedding ring. I said, I think that's better. I don't know how I had the gall to say that. I'm no one important. I felt that, Shaun, it's okay. We'll put it. And he was right. So yeah, there's been a lot of humbling in the acting that I've had to learn step by step. You wanted to know how we get cast? Was that something you wanted to explore?
Yeah.
Or
that's interesting.
And Rajesh said about the acting in front of the camera.
Yeah.
Anything specific about that, or?
No, I mean that transition. In fact, in your case, it was the other way.
It was the other way. Yeah.
In front of the camera, and then you go back.
Yeah.
And I think we talked about that, but I think let's go with what Jaimit asked you just now.
Well, okay. Firstly, so I'll tell you how it goes as far as getting cast and that is. Firstly, obviously, if it's a Colgate, they hire an agency. Agency hires the filmmaking company. So the filmmaking company gets a brief. That brief is given to there's 2 things. There's a casting director and there's a casting coordinator. Casting director is paid a flat fee by the filmmaking company, the production house, to audition as many and yellow, who do you want? The casting coordinator is someone who has a large database, sends people, and he gets a 25% cut from your fee. I've always avoided them because I wanted to keep all my money in case I get the ad. So I avoided casting coordinators for 99% of my work. Now, the funny thing is, this is how it's actually mostly done from what I've seen. There are categories: young husband, young corporate. So now I would fit the young husband, young corporate. In those days, it had to be clean shaven, not like this, but or young mother. So that's the lingo. I got a young mother. Oh, okay. College kid. That's all. There's hardly any nuance. I mean, obviously in the audition, then they bring out the character, but it's first on the basis of the looks. You wanted to say something?
No, it's fascinating how you describe it. Young mother, college kid is just fascinating.
ये ad के लिए मेरे को 4 young mother चाहिए.
That's exactly what they're saying. Yeah.
2-3 young father चाहिए. ऐसा.
Young husband, young corporate. Yeah. Grandfather character के लिए, old man, 60 years, whatever. So that brief is given to the casting director. He looks at his database and he calls who might fit the role. That's the big thing. Am I fit? That's the lingo. Am I fit? Aap fit hai? Please andar aao. So you get called for the audition, and then there's a shortlisting process. You are told what the dates of the shoots are, and you're told to block those dates. You may or may not get. After the shortlisting process, then they say, okay, you're in. Definitely block those dates. So there's a lot of waiting. First to get shortlisted, then for the actual selection. Then there's the back and forth about, okay, how much would you like to charge, or this is the budget. I didn't tell you mine, but this is the budget. And then you eventually go and shoot, and that's how it. That's in a very short nutshell. That's how it works. Yeah.
So you're doing decently. You're doing decent amount. At some point, I think you just gave it up and said, "Bhai, ye sab nahi hone hai," and then you moved into probably the recession, moved into coaching, and now I'm seeing you back in some of the advertising. So what is the kind of you want to get back? Now you are done with the young college kid roles and now you are in for the young father roles, Shaun?
I I've always been up for anything. So no, actually the lack of the interest started waning for for many reasons. Um, One is my career was plateauing. I was only doing TVCs, and for I think any actor, the holy grail is to be a lead actor in a film or at least sub lead, you know. And not to be the hero's friend. There's the hero's friend character that a lot of people do and say, I'm playing Akshay Kumar's friend. I'm playing Priyanka. I've met one girl who said, hi, I'm Nazareen. I'm playing Priyanka Chopra's best friend. So, and the sad part is, and I asked my adult acting students, which hero's friend character do you remember? Is any brand value a point to doing that? No, you don't. Only Mamik, maybe from Jojita Hui Sikandar, who has, but you don't
or
remember that.
Circuit from Munna Bhai.
And that again,
that is the
and they had equal footing. See, the problem is
True.
in what I feel, and I don't think Bollywood will like me, but that's okay. I'm a rebel. I don't think supporting cast is written very well. Supporting characters don't support. They're just props or comedic, stupid characters. Like the hero's friend is some dumb guy. "Hey, bhai, kaise?" It's never it's never been interesting to me, and I always wanted to get as interesting roles. So my career was plateauing, and I knew that I'd have a limited shelf life because I've had other friends who've had a great run, and then slowly either you get called less. The reverse can happen. You're too exposed. They start
that's what even at some point, like there is only an X number of products. Like if you do one financial services, no other financial services for an X amount of time. Ek soap kiya, ek shampoo kiya, ek ye kiya. Means at some point, I don't know, the life of a model will be only an X number of.
Yeah, well, you can't pick up a competing brand for at least 2 to 3 years. But if you've done too many ads, your face is so well known. So my face for some time got well known. Like people are actually recognizing me. But then it has a reverse effect. Nahi, kuch fresh face chahiye. So I stopped getting that. My strike rate also started reducing, and my film career was definitely. I've done a lot of big budget niche films. When I say niche films, I mean flops because no one saw them. So there's Drona, which I was in for 1 second, I think. I've done Jashan, which is not a big budget, it was a Mahesh Bhatt film. The girl I was dating at that time, actually, one of the reasons she left me is because she thought I'll become a Bollywood star and there'll be lots of women around me. And I feel like telling her, like, bhai, this is the film you left me for. There's no women. she was not from this country, so she had no idea about Bollywood, but she definitely, like, when we were going through a bad, but she said, no, you're going to be a famous star. And this was the film I thought I'll have my debut, but I was already making dreams of endorsing Nike and all that. But firstly, that film script changed while we were shooting, and our roles got reduced. And ultimately, you won't even know the name of my character in the film. Like, Shaun, what are your name in the film? Even I've forgotten what the name of my film is. So there were lots of heartbreaks. Like even Drona was one of my first films where I had only one scene, but it was one of the first films where I had to speak. My Hindi is not so great, but I spoke Hindi so well. It was like very poetic Hindi, like chup chap chanchal chidiya ki chanchal cheton mein chupa dijiye chand chutkule. So I was so proud. And for that film, I'm playing a character, again, a very weird character, where Abhishek Bachchan Jaimit is. And you've seen that photo of me. I put it on Instagram of me in that film. That's a film. See, this is why I love talking about my acting career. It's hilarious.
No, if you wait. We still have Guzarish. No, go ahead. First, explain this one.
So, what was I saying? I was playing a character where Abhishek Bachchan and Priyanka Chopra go to this mythical fairy tale land where they meet these strange people who sell secrets in various forms. So I was selling secrets in the form of birds. So I had a cape of bird feathers. I had to shave my chest, myself, and my legs. What am I doing for my career? This is fine. I had a crown.
Method acting.
It was method acting. On the shoot day, they had 6 doves on me. And they even, and this is a good testament to the costume person of Diksha Anand. Even my eyebrows had feathers. They had stuck eyebrows to my feather, like blue eyebrows. It was, yes. And I had 6 doves on me. At the end of the shoot, I had scratches of like dove claws and all that. And just for these 4 lines, 2-day shoot where one day we were just chilling and there was nothing done. The next day, I think we finally shot, coming to Film City at 6 a.m. in the morning, and just for those 4 lines. And I was very excited. Chalo, at least ye one and good lines. And I spoke to the producer. So how's the film? Shaun, we had to edit that film. Oh, okay, great. Wait a minute, edit out or edit? Shaun, we had to edit. Oh, heart broke. The film released, it was terribly panned, unfortunately. And I didn't want to go and see it because I was upset my role is not there and all that. I'm a parent. My mom said, no, my son is in this film. We must go and see. So we went to see it. Even my mom got bored, so we'll go. We saw the scene. I'm there, but you only see me for 1 second, like staring at Abhishek Bachchan while he's fighting a demon. That's all. Everything else is gone. And so like that, there was several like little small heartbreaks that happened. And I said, this is not working out, The only film of mine which was a hit and broke box office records was Guzarish. I'm in Amir Khan's film Guzarish, which again, my scene was cut. So you'll only see me for 1 nanosecond walking off stage. And one of my friends joked to me, the only reason that film was a hit is because you're walking off stage, not because you're on film. Everything else flopped. So, so yeah, there were these small heartbreaks that were happening. Then web series came out and people say, why don't you do web series? I said, yeah, if someone will audition me. And I auditioned, those things didn't happen. And it was just not happening. And there were lots of small nails in the coffin that over a year, I thought about it as over a year, should I not? And then I said, okay, I'm done. And the I'm done was because I did a horror film, which was the worst film shooting or experience of my life. And I said, okay, now I'm done. It was a film where they actually ran out of food in the morning. I said, what? It was a low budget horror film. I said, I'm going to do it just for the fun of it. But the fun was like not there anymore. And by the way, I have 2 horror films, independent horror films, which I have not released. So
So let's close the chapter on your movie, your cinematography.
My
cinematography. Sorry. We just got enough time to squeeze in one last most fascinating thing that I've come to learn to dramatically respect you as. Forgive the pun.
Do I never get the impression that you respect me?
So you teach at a school for mild learning difficulties.
Yeah.
And you taught drama there.
Yeah.
And that to my mind is, it's a different thing altogether, no, Shaun?
Oh, that was probably one of the most fulfilling times in my acting, my teaching career. And that was also around the time when I decided to say, I'm done with acting. So what should I do? Now I can actually commit to a school without having to worry about saying no to an audition call out. And I said, no, I'm not interested. Like it actually was a load off my not having to, what happened. So the school is interesting in that you didn't necessarily have to have had training to be a special educator. They brief you on the kind of obstacles they face, but ultimately you bring your skills into the school. What I did there was no different from what I used to do in schools. It was just that I had to maybe break down the instructions to even more simpler and to be more patient. What I feel drama helps as a whole, and but which was more evident here, and why I think there's something awesome to teaching. Okay, but before that, I'll go back to what happened a few years earlier. While I was teaching at mainstream schools, there was this one child who had come and she had already had. This was a mainstream school. She had already had surgery and she had very low motor skills, so she couldn't speak. And so I was in my second year of teaching at that time. So I went to the counselor and I said, okay, now I've never taught children who might have certain difficulties. So what do I do? And this is the counselor. And she said, no, Shaun, she has memory problems. She had surgery. Don't give anything. And this is the counselor telling me. And so I promptly threw everything she said in the dustbin and mentally gave her a certain finger. And I said, I'm just going to involve her in whatever she can do, whether she can or not. What? And then one day we were doing a review and I was asking, okay, kids, what did we do last week? And all the kids said, we did this. And I said, there's one exercise you're forgetting. What did we do? And then I heard this voice, mountain. Mountain? What do you mean mountain? It's this girl. Huh? She said mountain. And then I realized that the week before, we did an exercise where we piled up lots of things onto the room, lots of stuff, and it looked like a mountain. They discussed that it looked like a mountain. She remembered that from last week, one small innocuous detail. And that proved that there's something there that you can't give up on someone, and it can help. And later she was able to do a small 10-second skit on her own, like you all to create whatever you want. She was able to imitate me and do certain actions. Cut to later, that kind of work, I met her at the school also, and it was a big coincidence. So that's the kind of work I brought to Gateway. And again, I got the support of the school, because again, like I keep doing, like I mentioned, I keep doing crazy things. So I will, because like I would say, and the funny thing was, everyone has a certain way of working. And then there's Shaun, who's noisy and mad and all that. Let's put markers on the ground because they have spatial awareness. I said, we're not going to put markers. They're going to learn to go directly there, even if it takes me 10 years. And they eventually did that, So when you do these small things, letting them do stuff, physically, mentally, and emotionally, drama helps anyone. And it helps these kids definitely, and it's not just because of me, because I had support of all the other teachers and therapists and all that. Having a child who has supposedly intention issues, but just having them stand and wait for their turn to come on stage. I know that when Ramesh says samosas, that's when I have to enter stage. The challenge of them to just stand waiting, and then run on stage is the thing that's beautiful to see, and they manage. What you say is impossible, again, can be done. I've seen small kids, the ones who are even the rawest. They've come on stage, made a mistake, corrected their mistakes, and gone back. And this is when you say like, oh, I don't think memory problems, and I'm not saying these, but other people from outside school, memory problems, and no, there's no such thing. There's something that the school believes in, a lot of special education believes in, is neuroplasticity. I'm not very technically well versed. I just instinctively work. That the brain can change, the brain will adjust. So anyone can slowly develop certain faculties. Again, drama gets you in touch with your emotions also. Okay, through my acting, how are you feeling? Angry. So now show me your angry face. Are you angry because I took the toy away? Show me that anger. So when you are able to access emotions, then you'll be able to manage them. And that's what affects some kids with learning difficulty. They're not able to express their emotions. So drama helps them connect with emotions, and with anyone, actually. I think a lot of us need to be able to connect with emotion and know what we're feeling, therefore we can express it. So focus issues, concentration, just standing on physicality, also using your body to create. There's so many magical miracles that have come as part, and I've learned a lot, and that teaching helps me in my shoes because I'm even more finely tuned now. So
it's an amazing skill, Shaun, and it takes a lot of self-awareness, as you rightly said, and understanding of yourself before you can actually understand what somebody else can do. And when you're dealing with kids, I think it's a different level altogether. Rajesh, what just some closing? We've already crossed, I think, our time for Shaun. It's been amazing, but Rajesh,
we haven't talked about when I was abused on set, so that's later.
We will leave for another date.
Shaun, it was a fantastic session. And I think what I loved about is how you brought it so alive with your body gestures. It's been one of the most animated hippoBrains I think we have ever been part of. But I think more power to you and the work that you've been doing. I think both, of course, with the kids earlier and now at Gateway. And just the passion that you've shown as we've been chatting. I mean, just every... And this is one of those episodes you can't listen to it on Spotify. You've just got to see Shaun act himself out on our YouTube channel.
Yeah, absolutely. I think we should have told Shaun कि ये YouTube पे भी है, and it is also available wherever you get your podcast. And Shaun would have then spoken in different voices while he's talking about the craft. Shaun, is that good enough?
That was very good. mystery and mystery was
drama. So I think it was absolutely amazing, Shaun. It's been it's a brilliant hippoBrain conversation. I think the lessons are many. Yeah, the lessons are many, and I think one of the things that I've noted down. So every hippoBrain conversation, I keep writing copious notes, and one of the notes is respect. And I think somewhere along, if I were to put everything of what you're doing, you have a deep respect for your craft. Of course, there is a lot of passion for your craft, but I think that respect for your craft and the respect for the other person, no matter how old he is, he or she is, either is a 3-year-old or a Poonam Pandey at the end of the day, where they're able to do what they do because you fundamentally tapping into your respect for them and for them to be able to reciprocate that into the kind of performances that they do. I'm not surprised that you keep getting called again and again for the Flipkart commercials. I think they're quite interesting. And now that you said, yes, you're right. The acting is pretty subtle. The movements are less, and it's not like, hey, mommy, it's such a toothpaste. But getting them to act like adults, because that's what the Flipkart difficulty was. They were putting these kids and telling them adult roles karo, and putting those mustache and everything on these kids. And I think that was interesting. And today we got a deeper insight and a better empathy and an absolute top respect for an acting coach as well as an actor. Thank you, Shaun. Absolutely amazing to have you on.